To install the motherboard, we used screw type B. These ones, we got 25 of them. Now that the motherboard has been installed, it seems like the cable bar is a bit too close to the motherboard. The instruction says you can actually move the cable bar to the right for a little bit. Unscrew it here and move the bar to the right and screw it back to the right hole. Also here on the top side. To move the cable bar, I had to unscrew this one and also untie these cables. These cables are pre-installed and tied, but I cannot figure out which one is which, so I think I better rearrange them. Now I'm going to install the water cooler. Inside the box there's the AIO cooler with the pump, the pipe and the radiator, 2 big fans, some bracket for different CPUs and cables in the menu. The pump has pre-applied thermal paste. First I need to remove the stock mounting bracket for the air cooler and install these 4 standoffs. These 2 are the stock ones. Keep the back plate on and install these. Now the AM4 standoffs are installed. The pump was originally fitted with the Intel retention bracket. I need to replace it with the AMD one. But when I do, the thermal paste will get exposed and the plastic cover is not going to fit for this one. So I'll do it later. There are 2 different ways to mount the fans and the radiator. One is the direct mounting, which is the fan is at the bottom. The other way is indirect mounting, which is the fans are in the middle. I'm going to use the direct mounting because the fans are RGB fans. They're supposed to be seen, right? The radiator of the X73 is a bit thicker than the X73. To leave enough space between the cooler and the motherboard, I need to flip this bracket like this. For mounting, in which the radiator fits directly to the case, install the fans first using the 30mm fan screws and washers, and then use the 5mm case screw and washers to mount the radiator. Now here's the challenge. Shall I leave the pipe on the right side or on the left side? From the NZXT official website, they have the builds on both sides, so I'm not sure which one is better. Another question is whether I should have these power sockets face front or face the back. Another thing to be aware of is the direction of the airflow. This is the side where the air goes in, and this is the side where the air goes out. So this is definitely the correct side. Now I have installed the fans with a 30mm screw and a washer. Now the radiator is mounted to the bracket. Connect the LED cables here and here, because it will be difficult to do that when it's mounted. Now the radiator is mounted. Not easy. These are the fan and RGB cables. Push and turn the bracket to release it. To install the AMD mount, push the bracket in and turn clockwise. And the cooler is installed. Finally, it's time to install the graphics card. Remove the protective film. This is the Aorus Master Edition, so it has the bigger fans than the original one. 3 HDMI and 3 display ports. This is the display. Remove the second and third metal slot from the case. Remember to remove this plastic PCIe protector from the PCB board, like this, and install the screws. Finally, it's time to install the power supply. Make sure to install the power supply with the fan facing down. It's probably easier to connect the cables before the PSU is installed. So I'm gonna need 1 cable for the motherboard, 1 cable for CPU, a few of these PCIe, which is for the graphics card. I'm going to need at least 2 or maybe 3, and also SATA cable for the smart controller. Remove the PSU bracket first. 2 cables for the motherboard, 2 cables for the CPU, 3 cables for the graphics card, because on the graphics card there are 2 8-pins and 1 6-pin sockets, 1 SATA cable. Oh my lord, this is as messy as Medusa's hair. I think it is better to screw the bracket onto the PSU first. Perfect. Motherboard cable installed. tied up in the back. The CPU power is finally connected. It is so difficult. Graphics card finally connected and tied up. To connect the pump, we need to connect the micro USB all the way back and connect to the motherboard, that one. And for the split cable, 3-pin cable goes to the CPU fan here. And the other cable is the SATA, which goes to the back. Then connect the SATA cable from the pump to the power supply. The other one is the RGB cable, and it needs to be connected to the smart device of the case. On the lower side of motherboard from the left, that is the HD audio cable connected to the front of the panel. On the left lower side of the motherboard, there's the high definition audio cable that connects to the front panel of the case. Then there's the USB cable connects to the pump. Another USB cable connects to the smart device of the case. And the bulky one is the USB 3 that connects to the front panel of the case. To the right side of the battery is the front panel control, which includes the power button. What's left is the case fans in the front and one case fan in the back and 2 water cooler fans on the top. They'll be connected to the smart device. I have finally finished the cabling. Exhausted. This video is not sponsored by Starbucks. The moment of truth. Let's fire it up. Oops. Let's check all the fans. They're working. Beautiful. To install Windows, download Windows installation files onto this USB-C drive. Plug it into any of the USB drives and boot the system. Click I don't have a product key. Install Windows 11 Pro. So the error is the PC cannot run Windows 11, doesn't meet the minimum system requirements. The reason is because we're missing the TPM, which is the Trusted Platform Module. The AMD Ryzen CPU has a firmware TPM which can be enabled from the motherboard. Let's try do it from the BIOS. Reboot the system and get into the BIOS. Go to Settings, under Miscellaneous, go to AMD CPU FTPM. Let's enable it, then restart. Install Windows. Don't have a product key. Windows 11 Pro. It's working. It's working. Windows 11 installation is completed. Beautiful. One more thing, install the Wi-Fi antenna. The case comes with an audio split cable, so you only need one hole on the case, but still be able to connect to separate microphone and earphone. Building your own PC comes with great challenge. It took me 2 days to put everything together. It's the first time I use a water cooler for the CPU, and there are just so many products to choose from. The reason I chose NZXT is they're the only brand that provide 6 years of warranty. This particular model is X73, but if you give me a second chance, I would choose the X73 instead. The X73 has 3 smaller fans. The radiator will be thinner than this one. The performance of the X63 is almost the same as the X73, But because of the radiator of the X73 is thinner than this one, it will give you more space for the CPU power here. So I will highly recommend you spend some extra money to get X73. I love this infinity ring. If it's the first time you use this water cooler, connecting the cables can be a challenge because the instructions are not very clear. Connect the SATA cable from the split cable to the power supply to provide power for the pump. Connect fan cable to the CPU fan on the motherboard just to tell the motherboard that a CPU cooler is connected. For some motherboard, if a CPU fan is not connected, the system wouldn't start. This is the RGB LED cable for the RGB fans. They provide power for the fans and tell the fans which color to use. This is the USB cable that connects to the motherboard. When you configure the color of the RGB fans from the operating system, it can send signal from here to the pump, and the pump will send the signal to the fan using this cable. Hope that explains.